Everyone, project Ookii week 2. Let's talk parts. This is only the starting point. These parts were purchased from the previous owner, and they were part of his build that he had planned but never finished. They fit in to my plans for the car pretty well, so I picked them up from the previous owner and should be able to put most of them to use, maybe all of them. We'll see. So let's dive in. First, pistons. Pistons are probe 20 over, part number 14490. I don't know what block I'm going to use, so I don't know what pistons are going to make sense. Of course I'm using a 7M block, but I don't know which exact block, and I'll have to have that looked at by a machinist and see what makes sense for the pistons. Maybe I can get away with stock size pistons, maybe I need the 20 overs, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, I've got forged probe pistons, aluminum of course, and a ring set to go with that. Next in line we got Eagle H-beam rods. So part number CRS 5984-TO. I believe those are the heavy duty H-beam rods from Eagle. Great parts. They can hold tons of power, probably more than I'm going to need. And you don't get to see that, sorry. But 5 of them still in the bags. One was already opened, so I cracked that open just to take a look. Couldn't help it. ARP hardware comes standard on these rods. Let's see if we can get, no, you just don't. Oh, there you go. So ARP hardware on the rods. I've also got ARP hardware for everything else. Flywheel bolts, head stud kit, main studs, rod bolt kit. So ARP hardware everywhere. Next big thing is a Fidanza aluminum lightweight flywheel. That should help with engine response a little bit. I've always wanted to see what that's like. I've actually never driven a 7M with that, so that'll be a new experience. We'll see how that goes. Got a mandrel bent oil supply pipe. I forget who this is offered by. I want to say it's Arizona Performance, may not be though. The factory line is crush bent, and you can see on the elbows it's not quite as full a diameter. OEM Toyota piston squirter bolts, oil squirter bolts. There you can see. Definitely a necessity if you're rebuilding a 7M. Replace these. It's like 60 bucks for the set of bolts. It'd be foolish to just throw the old ones back in there. The springs wear out. You get low oil pressure because of that. They don't work as well. Replace those. Comp cams, valve springs. It is not an OEM part. It's not made for the 7M. They just happen to work well. They're about the right size. Installation I think is pretty smooth. I'll detail that when we go through that. And beyond that, I've got a bag of other miscellaneous parts. There's an OEM water pump. We got speedo cables, upper, lower, crank bolt, coolant plug, coolant plug, coolant plug, another expansion plug, a bunch of expansion plugs, oil pump bearing, vacuum hose, vacuum hose, vacuum hose, crush washer, steering grommets, a couple thermostats, and a few sets of spark plugs, and a bunch of other parts. I've got 2 drawers full of miscellaneous parts for the Mark III Supra. So I've got a great head start. This is all mostly from the previous owner. I've got a lot of parts yet to purchase, so let's go through some of those, including turbo, injectors, driveshaft, clutch, head gaskets, all that. All right, turbo. I want 500 wheel horsepower. That's around 650 at the crank. So options for that, there are tons. There are a few bolt-on options that may get there. Might be able to use the factory manifold and downpipe and all that. That may be the way I want to go. If not, I'll go aftermarket. I'm thinking the Garrett GTX 3076R looks good. That would not be a bolt-on turbo. That'd be an option if I wanted to go more custom route. But it's a ball bearing turbo, and that's something that I want to keep in mind. Ball bearing turbo, you pay a little bit more up front, but you get more performance out of it. I think it's a worthy investment, so I'll probably go that route on whatever it is. You can do ball bearing turbos on most anything these days. Next we have, let's talk injectors. Injectors, looks like I need somewhere between 650 to 750 cc per minute. Driveshaft. I like Driveshaft Shop. They've got a good aluminum one piece, much lighter than the factory two-piece steel. Should be able to handle the power. Clutch. That is mostly a big question mark. There are some great twin disc options. I'm not sure if I want to go that route because that is expensive. I'm not sure that I want to pay that. There's an ACT clutch, the Extreme, I believe, that is not that expensive and should be able to hold the power. I've heard mixed reviews on its usability. We'll see what I do there. Head gasket. That's a big one. HKS stopper. No doubt there, that's the best head gasket available. It's expensive, it does the job well, it's tried and true. That's what I'm going to use. I'm also planning on the ATI Supra damper. And what about intercooler? I'm thinking custom. I don't think there's anything off the shelf that's quite going to do it. I really don't like the look of the universal kits. Those really irk me. I don't like those. So I'll try and do something custom. Carbon fiber might be nice, but aluminum would work well too. So we'll see what I end up doing there. What about exhaust? Exhaust is still a big question mark for me. The HKS Drager, or Drager, that's a potential possibility. I don't know if that's quite good for this power level, but I've always been curious what one of those sounds like in real life. I don't think I've ever heard one, except maybe at Silv in 2009 or 2008, whenever I went. Other than that, I don't think I've ever heard one, so that may be interesting. Otherwise, if it's not the HKS Drager, it'll probably be custom. And I think that's about it for the main drivetrain related stuff. I'm sure I'm missing a few components, but that's the majority. Oh, here you go. Here's a big one. Electronics. I'm thinking AEM or ECU masters. I haven't spent a lot of time looking into that. I could probably do an entire episode just on that selection. There's a lot that goes into that, and it can be very expensive. So I'm not sure what I'll do there, but these two look like reasonable options. Beyond that, I don't think there's anything else to really go over at this point. A lot of this is just conjecture right now. I'm not sure exactly what route I'm going to go, but I wanted to be sure to go over the parts that I already have, so you've got some idea which direction this is all going. And this is the starting point. We'll see where I end up. Thanks for watching. Be sure to watch next week's episode. I'm still not sure what I'm going to cover, so we'll see where that goes. I will see you next week.